Welcome to the Savant ADC demonstration series. In this video, we will be providing a brief introduction about Savant software and demonstrating the Savant ADC product. Savant software's roots began in 1987 when we were developing customized distribution applications on Unix platforms. As the middle market shifted away from legacy-based systems in the mid-1990s, we also developed the Savant WMS application on Windows and SQL Server platforms. Today we have 4 major products and a variety of supporting ancillary modules that are scalable across small, mid-sized, and enterprise businesses. With over 25 years working in the supply chain from manufacturing to distribution, we have industry expertise and customers in a variety of industries. Our customers come from a variety of industries and vary in size from small businesses to multinational enterprise organizations. You may recognize some of these names like Sierra Nevada Brewery or Arizona Beverage Company. The list represents key industries such as food and beverage, manufacturing, life science, and wholesale distribution. Our customer list spans multiple tiers, including Tier 1 enterprise companies like Sanrio, which is the U.S. distribution arm of everything Hello Kitty. But we also support middle and small market companies like Omni, Antigua, and Michaud. Quality products are built on a solid foundation, and the foundation for Savant is built on Windows Server, SQL Server, and the .NET development architecture. Moving up from this foundation, Savant has 4 primary products, starting with Savant ADC. Savant ADC is our entry-level warehouse management system designed for the small and mid-market business. The Savant WMS is a full-featured warehouse management system targeting both mid-sized companies and Tier 1 enterprise organizations. Savant has developed its own shipping manifest product, which can be sold as a standalone product or integrated module with Savant's other products. Finally, GrowSavvy is an agricultural-based distribution management system targeting food growers who need to track inventory, lots, and origins. Savant is designed to be modular so that the customer can select the features and functionality specific to their needs. Savant provides a variety of modules allowing customers to expand their manufacturing and distribution operations. These modules include dashboards, which provide visual snapshots of the customer's warehouse operations, kitting or WIP, which provides the ability to track inventory from raw material to finished goods, lot and serial tracking, and support for multiple distribution sites. Savant has invested into a true scalable model. The first phase of this effort is our recently launched Savant ADC product. As an example, a customer using the base ADC product can purchase the lot serial tracking module. They will receive a new activation key, and when entered, the lot serial capabilities will be opened up for the ADC product. As the customer's operations evolve over time and they need the sophistication of a full-featured WMS, again, they can purchase the upgrade from ADC to WMS, they will receive a new activation key, and the WMS features will be available. With this philosophy, we provide a total solution suite that goes beyond just WMS into true supply chain management. All of Savant's products are built on the same foundation, using the same database structure. So as your businesses grow, you no longer have to rip and replace your existing WMS applications. Instead, the scalability enables the product to grow with you. Savant also can be cloud-enabled, and we support on-premise, hosted on-premise, and software as a service or cloud models. The bottom line here is this: Savant products are built on a solid, industry-proven foundation that enable a customer to purchase the product and modules that meet their needs today, but also provide a reliable and scalable path for your company's future growth. Our demo warehouse is configured for a fictitious company called Radical Rakes. Radical Rakes sells automated lawnmowers to retailers and end customers. They have both a standard and professional line of mowers in 4 colors and related accessories including gear kits, bag kits, bumpers, and replacement SIM cards. Now the screen I have up right now is what we call the admin console. And the admin console typically runs on a PC workstation or device with a larger screen. It is most often used by the warehouse manager, system administrator, or a user performing specific tasks that don't require moving through the warehouse. This is in contrast to the mobile device applications which, as the name implies, allows the user to perform their task on the warehouse floor as they move from location to location. These mobile devices are most commonly handheld scanners, and the screens are smaller, requiring the application to have a small footprint. You navigate through the admin console via the ribbon bar, and notice that each module has its own ribbon menu. The icons are grouped based on functionality, and these groupings are consistent from module to module. Inquiry screens are grouped together, application or function process screens are grouped together, and setup screens are grouped together. The setup icons are also arranged in the order that you should use to set up the system. As an example, you would start with company information, then go to security, warehouse setup. You would generate your warehouse locations, set up your zones, configure your printers, and then move on to the setup screens in the inventory, receiving, and order fulfillment modules. So combined with the documentation and user guides, every effort was taken to make setting up the ADC product as efficient and easy as possible. Clicking on an icon launches the associated screen. Each screen can have one or multiple tabs, and you navigate through the screen by clicking on the tab. Fields that are highlighted with red borders are required fields, and fields that are cyan colored are lookup fields. You can perform a lookup by pressing the F3 key or clicking on the lookup button to the right of the field. You then select, in this particular case, the operator ID that you want to see, and all the information for that operator ID is displayed. Now, the goal of our demo is likely the primary goal of your business: to accept customer orders and ship them to your customers accurately and efficiently. In this demo, we're going to process a new sales order numbered SO04, or Sales Order 04. Now, when I go to my order fulfillment, open order details, you'll notice that we only have right now 3 sales orders, and SO04 isn't there. Now, Savant supports many ERP applications and has an automated interface for those supported systems. When an order is entered into the ERP system, the interface or handshaking between the ERP and Savant ADC is automatic and happens behind the scenes. Once entered, the sales order, or perhaps a purchase order or an inventory item, will simply be transferred and ready for processing in Savant. However, in this demo, we're going to show you the import-export capabilities of the system, and we're going to import Sales Order 04 using our import-export tool. So I'm going to go up and click on that tool. I'm going to make sure that my import tab is highlighted and click the Browse button. I'm going to select the text file that I'm going to import, and you'll see right away that this particular text file has only one sales order, Sales Order 04. I'm going to click the Validate Import button, and we're going to see that it was imported in successfully. I'm going to close that screen. I'm going to click on the Refresh button, and sure enough, here's my Sales Order 04. Now I'm going to take a look a little bit deeper into this sales order. So I'm going to go to my Sales Order Inquiry screen. I'm going to grab that order, and you'll notice that our customer, Big Box Home Supply, is going to order 25 units each of our RoboRake Standard and Professional Red model mowers. But I've got a problem. If I go to Inventory Control and look up those products, you'll notice that I only have a quantity on hand of 5. And that's true for my professional model as well. So I can't fulfill that order because I don't have enough units in the warehouse. I wanted you to see this order first because everything that we're going to be looking at in the other modules will be setting the stage so that we can pick and ship this order. One of the most frequent questions we are asked is how long does it take to install and configure the Savant ADC product? Now, there are a lot of factors that come into play when answering this question, such as the configuration of your network, the configuration of your various hardware components, and the complexity and size of your warehouse operations. The good news is that Savant provides several tools to help make the installation and implementation of the ADC application as easy and efficient as possible. These tools include a detailed system configuration guide, enabling you to pre-plan the implementation, detailed and step-by-step documentation in the user manual, and a series of training videos which will walk you through the entire installation and configuration process. As such, a typical implementation is measured in hours and not days or weeks. In looking at the Savant System Administration module, you can see that it is primarily focused on the configuration and management of the warehouse and users. Now, I'm not going to walk through every screen, but I do want to highlight some of the key features and demonstrate some of the configuration and maintenance capabilities of the system. The first area that I want to showcase is security. Setting up operators is simple, but I want to draw your attention to the language selection. And in order to do that, I'm going to select Juan Garcia as my user. Notice that Juan's language ID is set to English. I'm going to change that to Spanish and update his record. Savant ADC allows you to configure the language option at the user level. This means that if you have a warehouse with users from different cultures who might have, as an example, either English or Spanish as their primary language, you can switch the language for those users, and when they log in, their screens will be in their desired language. While I'm on the screen, notice that passwords are not highlighted in red, which means that they are not required fields. This is because on the security options screen, the validate operator passwords is not checked. If I check that, save it, and then go back to the operator screen, you'll now see that passwords are required fields. One of the key features of ADC security is the ability to define specific roles for a user or groups of users. I'm going to select the manager's role. And you'll notice as I scroll down the grid here, the manager's role has access or full control to all parts of the system, with the exception of the operator screen, the roles assignment screen, the role setup screen, and security options, basically these screens up here. In this example, the manager role has full access to every ADC function except the security functions. The next step is to assign the role to an operator. Now I'm going to select our user Juan Garcia again. And you'll notice that Juan is already assigned the manager's role. So Juan will have full access to the system with the exception of the security functions. Now remember that we launched the security screens by clicking on the security icon, which I'm going to call our three amigos. Now I'm going to log out and log back in the system as Juan so we can see our changes. As I log in, I am now required to enter a password. Excelente. Because we changed the language ID for Juan, all of the menu items are now in Spanish. And if I launch a screen, it is in Spanish as well. Remember that Juan was a member of the manager's role, and he doesn't have access to security. Our three amigos icon is no longer displayed. Now, while Spanish is Juan's preferred language, unfortunately it's not mine, and I prefer English, and I will need to log in as another user. Now that I'm back in English, the next area that I want to show is warehouse setup. First, Savant ADC only supports one site, unless you have purchased the multi-site add-on module. You use this screen to set up your main site or multiple sites if applicable. The ADC product supports two types of bin locations. Primary locations are picking locations where product is picked and typically stored at its lowest unit of measure. Secondary locations are often mass storage locations. Now you do have some configuration options here, and if you don't use secondary locations, then the secondary type can be made inactive. I'm going to skip the VeriFlex screen for just a minute and take a look at some of our locations. Notice as I scroll down the grid, the majority of my bin locations are sequentially numbered, beginning with a single alpha character, followed by 6 numeric characters. I also have some exceptions to this sequence, such as both a hold and a receiving location. The VeriFlex tool allows you to define the naming conventions for your bulk bin locations. This structure will then allow you to quickly create mass locations and zones. For both my primary and secondary locations, the definition is a single alpha character, which defines a specific section of my warehouse, followed by 3 sets of 2 numeric character segments, which define the aisle, rack, and shelf. You can create bin locations one at a time using the bin location screen, or you can use the Generate Warehouse Locations tool. This tool utilizes your VeriFlex definition to create multiples or blocks of locations quickly using the definition to define the from and to ranges of the block. Zones provide a way to group locations into a sequential order for a specific purpose. I have created a front warehouse zone called MZone01. The zone is designed to move pickers through the picking locations in the most efficient manner. In this case, the locations are in reverse alphanumeric order. When users are picking orders, instead of moving randomly through the warehouse, they're going to be guided through the sequence in the zone and pick their orders in a more productive manner. The final feature that I want to discuss is reports. The Savant ADC report engine is built on Crystal reports. To run reports, you select the appropriate module for the desired report and then the report from the drop-down box. I'm going to use the transaction log report from the administration tab and then enter my date range for the report beginning with March 1st and ending on March 31st. I can generate the report in a new window, or I can generate the report within the admin console. Clicking on the Generate Report button creates the report. Notice that I can see all the transactions made using the system within our selected date range, as well as the date and time stamp for each transaction, the user who performed the transaction, and specific details about the transaction. From the report screen, we can print the report, and we can export or save the report to various formats, including PDF, Excel, and Word. And we can also zoom in and zoom out by changing the size of the screen. We've talked through a quick overview of the System Administration module, and my hope is that you've seen some of the robust tools that are available to help you both in the initial configurations and setup of your warehouse and users, and also in maintaining and refining your warehouse as your business grows. Having viewed our Savant ADC configuration and target sales order, the next area that we want to look at is receiving, and specifically how we receive inventory into the warehouse. Let's begin with a quick overview of how the receiving module has been configured. In the receiving options screen, we have set the parameters for generic receiving. We have a default receiving location, and we require a valid purchase order. We will always print pallet labels, and will prompt the user for printing product or unit of measure labels. However, we can configure the Savant ADC receiving to be specific to different types of receiving. I'll launch the receiving workflow screen. The best example to help understand this type code concept is to think of a warehouse that receives both raw materials and finished goods. The way that those products are received and handled could involve completely separate workflow options. By creating unique type codes, we can create different receiving workflows. Now in our example, we have created one PO type called, well, PO. While our default receiving location stays the same, we could enter a different receiving location for this type of receiving. Also, we can make additional changes to the flow which alters the prompts during the receiving process. As an example, in our generic receiving options, the user will be prompted to print product labels. But in this PO type code, we will never print product labels. Earlier in our demo, we imported a sales order. If you'll recall, the order didn't have enough product to ship to the customer, so we are now going to receive that product into the warehouse. Let's first take a look at the POs currently in the system using the PO inquiry screen. Using the lookup tool, we can see that we have 4 POs currently in the system. Our first step will be to import a PO into the ADC system. Like the sales order import, the PO import tool simply imports a comma-delimited text file of PO information into the ADC application so that the user can receive the product against the PO, and then we can export the receipts back to the ERP system. I'm going to launch the PO import export tool, make sure that my tab is set to import, and click the Browse button. I'll now select my file, and you'll notice that I'm bringing in PO number 04. I'm going to click the Validate Import button, and we'll see that we successfully imported that PO. Now if I go back to my Purchase Order Inquiry screen and click on the Lookup button, you'll see now that PO 04 is in the system. With Purchase Order PO 04 in the system, let's receive some of the product from that PO. The mobile device applications run on the device's browser. As you can see, the screen will have a much smaller footprint. Using the mobile application, we are going to click on the Receiving menu option. The prompts or workflow on the screen guides the user through the receiving process. We will enter our purchase order PO 04. The PO type code, default receiving location, and default label printer are all entered automatically based on the type code setup. We simply need to select the product ID from the drop-down box and enter the quantity received. For this demo, we're going to receive all or 100 units of the RR01 red product. We're going to receive 50 units of the RR02 red, 15 units of the RR01 gear, and 15 units of the RR02 gear. We are now finished with the receiving, so we can exit the screen. Now let's go back and take a look at the PO inquiry screen again. I'm going to enter our PO number. And you'll notice that we got our receivings here: quantity ordered, quantity that was received, and the quantity remaining. These quantity remaining are probably products that we haven't yet received into the warehouse yet. And when they are received, we can go back, enter that PO again, and go through the receiving process. The final step of the receiving process is put away. In this process, we move the product from the default receiving location into the storage or picking locations. In our receiving setup, we configured the system so that inventory, when it is received, is automatically put in the default receiving location called MREC01. Using our mobile application, we will do a location inquiry on MREC01. Notice that all of the received inventory from P004 is in this location. To put away the inventory, we will do a put away or pallet move. We will enter or scan the license plate or pallet ID of the received product, take it to the location where it will be stored, and then scan that location. So let's enter in our first pallet ID. And I'm going to move it to M020103 location. I'm going to go on to the next one. Now that completes the receiving process. Now let's take a look at the location inquiry screen once again. First, let's review MREC01. Notice how we have no inventory in that location. Now let's look at M020104. You can see we've moved product into that location. Finally, let's look at M020202. And again, you can see product has been moved in that location as well. There is one final step in order to complete the receiving process. We need to update the ERP of what we have just received. To do this, I'm going to go back to my admin console, and we're going to use the PO export wizard. Now in this case, I'm going to actually click on the Export tab, and you'll see all of the activity that we've done that needs to be sent back to the ERP system. Now it's asking me to name my file. I'm going to name my file and all that information has now been moved to my export file, GEMS Export CSV, which can now be uploaded into the ERP system. Before we move on, let's take a moment to review our receiving process. PO04 was generated in the ERP and saved into a text-based CSV file. The PO was imported into Savant ADC using the PO import wizard. Some of the product arrived at the warehouse, where we assigned a license plate or pallet label for each product ID and received them into the default receiving location, MREC01. We then moved the product from the receiving locations into the warehouse locations and the receipts were then exported from Savant ADC and back into the ERP system. We interact with the inventory inquiry screens in other parts of the system, so we won't spend too much time reviewing all facets of the inventory module. But we will spend a little time looking at some setup features, and then we can do a quick overview of a couple of the various functional capabilities of the module. The setup features for the inventory module are fairly straightforward. Notice the Allow Entry of New Products in Product Information screen. With this checked, we can enter new products and update them in the Product Information screen. However, if we are integrating into an ERP system, we might want the information entered first into the ERP system and then imported into Savant. To avoid double entry and to maintain the integrity of the product data, we would turn this feature off. An inventory level is the way that we store inventory. Savant ADC supports two levels, the product level and the storage level, and in our demo, the storage level is a pallet. At some point, we may need to put inventory on hold, and we could use the Change Hold Codes and Date screen to do that. And in doing that, we would assign it a hold reason code. We might also from time to time need to make adjustments to inventory. Adjustments are quantity additions or subtractions, and when they are executed, you can assign them adjustment reason code to the transaction. The product information screen is where we can add new products, if allowed, and where unique Savant ADC information can be added or updated. On the Admin Console, Savant ADC has 3 inquiry screens which provide detailed information. As an example, when we launch the product inquiry screen, we can enter a product ID, and I'm going to use RR02 gear, and then see detailed information about that specific product. Notice that in a location like M0202, where we have multiple license plates or pallets, we can see the details of each license plate, or we can click on the Summary by Location checkbox and roll that information up into one line. We can change the sortation by clicking on the column heading. We can also filter information. As an example, let's say that we want to see only those products that have a quantity of 15 on hand. Using the filter tool, I can say equal to 15. And the screen will display only those products with 15 quantities on hand. We can clear it by using the eraser tool. Now we can also move columns around, and down at the bottom of the screen we can add row colors to data based on specific criteria. Also, any changes that I make to the screen are saved at the user level. Due to the screen size of mobile devices, there is less information available to the user. Let's do a location inquiry of M020202. From our location inquiry screen, we can see 40 units of the RR02 gear and 90 units of RR01 gear stored in this location. Pallet and product moves are fairly straightforward, and we did pallet moves during the receiving put-away process. There are 2 more prompts in the product move because the current location and product must be identified. With a pallet, that information is already tied to the license plate. A cycle count is a count of inventory in a location. Let's do one. I'm going to count location M020202, and it prompts me for a pallet, which is 10021. This product has RR02 gear on it, and when I do my count, I discover that there are 13 units. Now when I go back to my product inquiry screen on the Admin Console and refresh it, you'll now see that our product count on that particular pallet at that location has changed from 15 to 13. However, in researching this product, we discovered that a sales rep had pulled 2 units for training and forgot to tell anyone. The units were recovered and put back into the warehouse, so now we need to make an adjustment. First, I'm going to input the pallet, and then the product, and then the adjustment type, which is salesperson samples. Now it's asking me for the adjusted quantity, and I'm going to put 2 in because we're going to increase the quantity of inventory by 2. Now if I go back to my product inquiry screen and do a refresh, you'll see once again that pallet 10021 at that location now has a quantity on hand of 15. Similar to the PO type we looked at in receiving, we can also set up unique sales order types using the order fulfillment workflow screen. Now in the ADC product, there aren't a lot of workflow options, so most sales order type codes will probably be related to staging locations, which are often tied to dock doors or carriers. Let's look at our imported sales order SO04. When we started our demo, we didn't have enough quantities of RR01 red or RR02 red to fulfill the order. However, we have received 100 units of RR01 and 50 units of RR02, so we are going to ship those products. The Open Order Details screen allows us to view all orders and their status in the system. Sales Order 01 and 04 are new and we haven't started to work on them yet. Sales Order 02 is in the print status, indicating that a pick ticket has been printed and it is ready to be picked. Sales Order 03 has already been picked but not yet shipped. The first thing that we need to do is release Sales Order 04. So we click on the Order Release icon, check the order or orders to be released, and then click the Release button. When we go back to the Open Order Details screen and press the Refresh button, the status for Sales Order 4 has changed from new to ready. Now I still need to do one more step before picking the order. In our demo we will be printing pick tickets, so we need to run through this process. In the Report screen, we'll select the Order Fulfillment tab and select our pick ticket report. I will then enter Sales Order 04 and generate the report. Now I can print the report and then close the report screen, go back to my Open Order Details, click the Refresh button again, and you'll see now that the status is in print, which means the order can now be picked. Opening the Product Inquiry screen, we're going to look at product RR01 Red. Now notice that we only have 5 units in our primary picking location, and we have 100 units in our secondary mass storage location, and this is on pallet 10018. When we look at RR02, you'll see again that we have 5 units in our primary location and another 50 units in our mass storage location on pallet 10019. So we're going to move 25 units from the secondary locations to the primary locations for these products. On the mobile device, we'll select the product move and enter the pallet or license plate number, pallet 10018, confirm the product, RR01 Red, and enter a quantity of 25. It's asking me where I want to move that product to, and I'm going to select location M010104. Now we go back to the product inquiry screen, and we go back to RR01 Red. You'll notice that 25 units have been taken out of pallet 10018 and moved into location M010104. Now I need to repeat this process for RR02. So I'm going to enter my pallet, confirm the product, enter my quantity of 25, and then send this to my new location, which in this case is M010204. At this point, we now have 30 units in each of the 2 primary picking locations, enabling us to fulfill order SO04. So let's pick the order. First thing we're going to enter is the sales order number. The system will then walk us through the picking process. Notice that my first location to pick is M010204. The two products for this order are stored in locations M010104 and M010204. Remember, back in the System Administration module, we configured our picking zone to move the picker through the zone in reverse alphanumeric order. Assuming that I did that to provide a maximum efficient route, the system automatically moves me from location to location based on the parameters for that zone. Let's continue picking our order. I'm going to confirm the location, M010204, and then enter my quantity. We have finished picking product RR02 red, and the system now instructs me to go to the next location, M010104, and again I'm going to pick a quantity of 25. The system will then ask me where the drop-off location is for this order. I have a packing location called Dock, and I'll select the test printer. Now there's going to be a little bit of a lull here as it tries to find the test printer. The message that popped up is warning me that a box summary was not printed, and this is because my test printer for this demo isn't a real printer. We have now picked the order, and when I review the open order details and click the refresh button, you'll notice that SO04 is now in a pick status. Also, when I go to my product inquiry screen and refresh RR01 red, the 25 units have been removed from inventory. We are now ready to ship the order. When we click on the Ship Confirm icon and enter the order number, we get a confirmation shipment message. Let's take a final look at the open order detail screen. Because sales order 04 has been shipped, the order status has been changed to shipped and is no longer an open order. As such, it isn't displayed on the open order detail screen. If we had picked and shipped a partial order, the status would change to partial and the sales order would still be shown on the screen. Finally, let's update our ERP system by doing a sales order export. Make sure the Export tab is clicked, and you'll see it automatically fills in with what's been updated. I'm going to browse, create a file called Sales Order Export, and click the Save button. The export's completed. I can now close down that window. In our demo, we have reviewed the screens and tools which highlight the speed and ease in configuring and maintaining the Savant ADC application. We've imported a purchase order and sales order from our ERP system into Savant. We then received the PO and did a put away of the product from the receiving location into the storage locations. We did a cycle count and found a discrepancy in our inventory, which we resolved and corrected by doing an inventory adjustment. We then prepared our sales order for picking and replenished our primary picking locations with product. We successfully picked our order and shipped it to our customer. And as a final step, we exported our receiving and shipment data to the ERP system, closing the loop. That concludes the demo of the software, but I would like to take a moment to discuss our service and support options. Our professional service team has many industry experts to assist you in a variety of ways, including an operation and best practice review of your warehouse functions, project management on any warehouse improvement project, implementation services for the Savant products, software customizations, and a variety of post-go-live support plans designed to fit both your operational needs and budget. Thank you for viewing the Savant ADC demonstration. For more information, contact Savant Software at 855-236-9083. You can also email us at sales@savantwms.com or visit our website at www.savantwms.com.